They laughed at him for being a beggar. They mocked him for being weak, but none of them knew. He once carried the sword that saved the world. Once, Chung Myung was the strongest swordsman of the esteemed Mount Hua sect, a man whose blade single-handedly held back the tide of the terrifying demonic cult when all hope seemed lost. He was a legend, a hero, the Sword Saint. He fought until his last breath, dying on the battlefield with a smile on his face because he knew the war was finally over. The world was safe, but for Chung Myung, death wasn't the end. It was just a pause, because when he opened his eyes again, a century had passed. And the Mount Hua he had died to protect was already dead. Chung Myung awakens, not in his own powerful body, but in the body of a poor, reckless boy. Disoriented and confused, he makes his way back to the only home he has ever known, the glorious Mount Hua, but what he finds is a ruin. The sect he once led to glory is now a complete joke, a third-rate school on the verge of collapse. Its disciples are weak, their techniques a pale imitation of what they once were. The hallowed halls where legends once walked are now empty and gathering dust. Its name, once spoken with reverence, is now forgotten by the world. And when he arrives, they don't recognize him, they don't respect him. All they see is a nuisance, a scruffy beggar boy causing trouble. But what happens when a true legend returns to a world that no longer believes in legends? Frustrated but not broken, Chung Myung begins to train in silence. He finds a quiet spot, away from the mocking eyes of the other disciples. Every swing of his blade, every precise movement, carries with it the heavy memories of blood, sacrifice, and war. His new body is weak, untrained, and frustratingly slow, but his technique, honed over a lifetime of battles against the strongest foes imaginable, is flawless. His spirit is unbreakable. It doesn't take long for his skill to shine through. A single, perfect strike is enough to silence the doubters who challenge him. Soon, the sect elders, who had long resigned themselves to mediocrity, begin to notice something different about this boy, something ancient and powerful. And just as they start to wonder, old enemies return to the mountain, and the past comes hunting. Rival sects, who once trembled at the name of Mount Hua, arrive with smirks on their faces, eager to mock its decay. They openly challenge the disciples, expecting an easy, humiliating victory to cement their own status. As the Mount Hua disciples hesitate, their faces pale with fear and shame, Chung Myung steps forward. No one expects anything from him. He looks like the weakest one there. He takes a single breath, one fluid movement. One flash of the sword, the arrogant laughter dies instantly, replaced by shocked silence. Because the weakest-looking man on the field is suddenly the deadliest. After that day, everything changes. The mockery ends. Chung Myung begins the grueling task of rebuilding the sect from the ground up. He doesn't do it with gentle words or mercy. He does it with discipline, pain, brutal, relentless training that pushes everyone to their breaking point and beyond. He forces the lazy disciples to remember what it means to be a swordsman of Mount Hua. At first, they curse him. Then, as they see their own skills improve at an impossible rate, they begin to fear him. And finally, they begin to follow him. A spark of life returns to the mountain. Mount Hua breathes again. But rebuilding a sect, bringing its name back into the light, also means awakening ancient enemies who never truly disappeared. As Mount Hua's reputation begins to grow, so do the whispers in the shadows. Rumors spread like wildfire through the martial world. The demonic cult, the very force Chung Myung gave his life to defeat, stirs once more from its long slumber. Chung Myung recognizes the signs, the dark energy, the familiar patterns of chaos. The war he thought was over had never truly ended. It had just been waiting, and this time, he refuses to die before finishing it for good. On the battlefield, surrounded by enemies old and new, Chung Myung draws his blade. The air itself trembles, heavy with an ancient, terrifying power. His old enemies, those who survived the last war, feel a chill run down their spines. A familiar dread they thought was long buried, they know. The world may have forgotten, but the battlefield remembers. Mount Hua Sword, the true Plum Blossom Sword Saint, has returned. The world forgot his name, but the sword never did.